Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a talk with the curators for Art Ii Biennial 2020. And I'm Jetta Huttunen. I'm the executive manager of Art Center Kulttuurikauppila here in Ii in northern Finland. And I am now at the moment in Ii. I'm at the gallery of our art center. And behind me is one of the works in the biennial, Anne Joncha's, a piece from Anne Joncha's series, Repeat 3. And this is, the work is kind of reminding us here all the time that we are, what we are discussing is Earth and its creatures, its elements. So the theme of the biennial this year is Earth, and specifically knowledge of the Earth. And our curators are, who are now in this webinar with me, are Ekaterina Sharovan from Russia and Maria Huhmarniemen from Finland. And they are now both out of the country, and that's why, they are living in countries that do not allow coming to Finland, or there is restrictions to the travel. So that's why we have this webinar. Our curators haven't been able to be present here in Ii at all, which is a pity. But now we will be discussing how it all went from the point of the curators and what kind of a process this has been from the point of view of the curators. I'll just tell you a little bit general things about the biennial. So the Art Ii Biennial has been organized from 2008. So quite a lot of years we have behind us. And it has been focusing on environmental art most of the time, sometimes also performative, but the environment has been very strongly with us all these years. And especially this year, when we have the theme knowledge of the Earth, we wanted to especially focus on earthly issues. But first, now I want to give the floor to the screen to our curators, and they can tell us a little bit about the focus of their work. What do they want to? What are they aiming at as curators? What is their focus as a curator, and how did it affect on the work with this biennial? So go ahead, which of you wants to start? Let's see, maybe Maria can start.
Hello everyone, so my name is Maria Huhmarniemi, and I was really happy to get this invitation to collaborate with Ekaterina in curating the Art Ii Biennial. And very happy also with the theme that was actually proposed to us by Jetta. So we started with the theme of the Earth as a given concept, but very, very soon got very inspired with it. We associated with the sense of material, Earth as a material, and also the dimensions of nature as a living being, as one of the artists says. And we wanted to focus on socially engaged art, to community art processes and many kinds of interaction with the community members. And that was probably the biggest change, that the focus of the biennial shifted from being very interactive with the community to still be interactive and still be engaged with the community, but in different ways. That's all I want to say at the moment, so I ask Ekaterina to continue.
Thank you, Maria. First of all, I would like to thank the municipality of Ii for amazing collaboration, and Maria. We have been working for several years already, and I found it exciting this year. From the curatorial viewpoint, I have been focusing on the ecofeminist questions regarding the North and the Arctic region, and especially I've been working on the border. Another thing I have been focusing at is geography and knowledge connected to the existing power mechanisms. And I think that this very Biennale has been exciting for me to take part at, because we have been witnessing how the new knowledge is being produced. So the artists, they have been involved in the local communities. And these very processes, although I was not able to be there physically, but I have been like checking every day what's happening. I found it some of the most inspiring. Because for me, the example of Finnish pedagogy and the way teachers dare to combine various approaches are some of the most exciting in the world. And I'm convinced that more colleagues from other countries could learn and apply these methods. At the same time, this Corona situation has has been a very interesting challenge for all of us, because you cannot really cross the borders on the one hand. On the other hand, all of us have learned how to use online tools, and everyone has learned how to use Zoom at least, which we have been talking about for a long time. So you are divided, but at the same time you are connected, and I think that is also very interesting. But I think that I really hope to be there physically and just to touch and to smell it, because that's what I was kind of missing. I think that aesthetics, at least what I have been talking to my students, what I've been talking to the artists I've been working with, it's about smelling, it's about touching, it's about the body. So this has been a challenge, but I think that it's also an interesting challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that you are the curators of this event, and our artists were very pleased with the compilation, with the fact that you managed to, from just papers, see that the compilation will be so good. So they really also connected as people, and it was really interesting how the event came to life on Monday when everybody arrived. And you know that if there would have been no coronavirus, probably there would have been a lot of meetings, physical meetings with everybody there and here and there, and we would have been sitting on tables discussing things, this and that, and the places and all. And now everything just had to happen, not in a physical world, but in the virtual world. And it was just like magical when on Monday everybody arrived and they were like, yeah, I love this place. Yeah. When they were seeing the places that had been chosen for the artworks, it was like, and it started to happen. Really, it was a magical moment, and in that way, I am really looking forward to seeing you in Ii. And we are seeing now the restrictions at least somehow shifting. So we might have a different situation at the end of the summer, and then I really welcome you here to come and have an other go at the artworks. Okay, but if we continue to the artworks, or what do you think? Should we, before we go to the artworks, should we a little bit more discuss the theme? So maybe the aspects of the theme?
I could still tell a little bit about the curating process.
Yes.
So we got plenty of applications, lots and lots to read and study. And the artists who were selected into this biennale got our attention in the very beginning. And it was very interesting to notice that the artists who are somehow connected into this region, because there was many artists who come from the Oulu region or from the northern Finland in generally, or from the villages nearby, that they had very strong applications. And in the beginning, we were looking for a combination of international artists and Finnish artists. But the artists were then limited to Finnish artists because of the coronavirus. But we were never upset with that, because the artists that we had pre-selected, they were in this group. Of course, we were sorry that we couldn't invite any international artists. We had a few very strong candidates whose artworks we liked, and it would have been nice to include them as well. But the ones who were selected because of being a strong proposals, and because of also having a great benefit from knowing the earth.
Yes.
So some of the artists who proposed artwork from very big cultural capitals like London or Berlin or something like this, we saw that, okay, well, these are artists who have long career and they're doing good jobs, but they had difficulties to relate into our theme and in what we were looking for in this biennale. And one more thing was that we wanted to produce this biennale with low ecological footprint.
Yes.
So we, from the very beginning, wanted to have artists who wouldn't travel from very far.
Yeah.
And we were very happy to see so strong artists in the region. And I'm thinking that what kind of impact this will have to the biennales in the future. That is it going to be something like this, that there will be more of the artists from Finland and from the region. And of course, I do see it great that there would be also some international artists, because a biennale like this is also artist gathering, where artists can network and make new friends across countries and cultures. And of course, one thing that we really miss was this curator-artist collaboration, while we couldn't access Finland. So that's something we miss. But with the how coronavirus impacted this artist, we never were sorry for decision that we had Finnish artists.
Yes, and as I told before, the compilation is almost perfect. So there is, as we will go through the artworks one by one, we can see that they all focus on different dimensions of the same theme, and the table is full. So it's really a good compilation.
I actually have some very short comment. I agree with Maria about this knowledge, because I think, and also like in my work, I've been in 2016, I curated a forum with the theme embodied knowledge, and we got various applications with some of them, they were completely disconnected with the theme, or some of them they were mostly about the ongoing process of the artistic research, and this was one of the spots on the possible list of different residencies. So I think that so like we got various applications, like from dancers from Argentina who would like to dance tango, but it was not really connected with the earth, with the place. And I think that this local production is also connected to, because it's really an example of very local production. And this is connected with the current situation, and at the same time, in the very end, it became very sustainable. So we have a very low footprint, and I think that it's very interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting, and sustainability is, as we know, one of the focuses of the municipality of Ii. Municipality of Ii is renowned for its climate actions and in its climate targets, and we're creating an event where this kind of thinking is reflected very strongly. But I want to maybe take something from what you said, Ekaterina, about and also Maria mentioning that somehow local artists can more strongly relate to the earth, because earth is very local. So what do you think about site-specific artworks? Are they stronger from artists that have a connection to the area? Because we have also had site-specific artworks from people who don't know the area, are not from here.
Well, I can comment here that, of course, it's one of the artist's skills to be able to orientate into the site and into the place and make place-specific works. So in this sense, I do think that it's possible also for international artists to make place-specific art with the community members. But the relation to nature is different with some artists who all the time live close to nature and some who come from the urban places. And of course, it's more rare that there would be this kind of artist who would have the skills of making place-specific art, because globally in the art world there still is lots of contemporary art. And of course, I'm not saying that all good art should be place-specific art. There is lots of good art that isn't place-specific, so the place-specific field is smaller.
Yes, yeah.
International artists could have a method for knowing the place, orientating into it, and working in a place-specific manner. But this relation to nature is something that you grow into it, and of course you can learn it by living with the eco-cultures, living in relation to nature, but it doesn't happen like that. And of course there is countries where people also live close to nature. We had really nice applicants, for example, from Russia, that we really considered for that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, I must say that the ones that are here now as site-specific pieces are very strong. They are very strong, and the proposals also, as you said, were strong because the people have the connection to this local area. And it's maybe one of the strengths of this year's biennial, the compilation. So we have this kind of extra bond to between the artists and the local area, and it's really great to see. Also, from the point of view that it has been a few years that there have not been any Finnish/local artists in the biennial. So this was a really, really great thing, that what the coronavirus did to us, that we had the possibility to have this kind of turn our heads near, and then because it was also a matter of your choosing that you saw that there was real strength in the local applications. And I'm just saying that I'm really, in a way, I'm really happy that we had this all local compilation this year. Okay, anything more about the curatorial process? You want to say something about it? How did it, was there challenges because of us doing most of our, or all of our, you did come here in January once. So you have visited, you saw the places, it was winter, it was all covered in snow, you had no idea what it's going to be looking like in spring, summer, and after that we were just we've just been online. So was it challenging?
Oh, Maria, you should switch on.
Yeah, sorry, I just muted my microphone. Now, I was really happy to work with the team in PE. So I think for me it was quite rare that it was possible to work as a curator with the production team and with Jetta and with Inka and others there in E. And it's really really rare and really great to have this possibility to have just the curator's role, because often this kind of biennales are artist run, and the curator is doing everything. The curator is searching for funding, connecting with the community, trying to run just everything. And I think that the municipality of E is very wise here, especially when having the aim of making the biennale for the people in E and in a socially engaged way, because then it's a great benefit that there is a producers and leader who know the place and the community.
Yes, I think it's a strength as well, and I also as a producer feel that I'm so happy that I can leave the curatorial responsibility wholly to you. So I didn't have to at all think that I only had to start thinking about the artworks after they were selected, and we started looking for the places and so on, and the työnjako, how the division of labor is here very, very well executed.
Yes, I just wanted to comment, because I think that it's really it's the same here, because usually when I've been working as a curator, you do everything and from the start to the end. So this has been a kind of really when I talked to some of my colleagues, they said, how is it possible at all? And of course it's possible when you have this this kind of strong production team. So I'm very thankful to you.
Thank you. But we had a very, it's been a pleasure working with you, I must say. I mean, really, we understood each other all the way. Okay, so should we go into the artworks? So we're going to do so that we're going to discuss each of the artworks and the kind of the curator's point of view, and why is this work in the compilation, of how does it answer the theme of the biennial, so the knowledge of the earth. And I can then maybe a little bit open up how what happened with the piece in E, because some of the works do have these communal dimensions, for example, workshops or working, otherwise they have been involved, they have participatory processes. So I can maybe a little bit open them up and we can discuss them. The first work that we're going to be discussing is Alan Bulfin's and P. Anttila's Fidelity of Home. It's an installation which is kind of a cupboard. It's here in Anattepori, so the lobby of the library, the E-municipality library. And it's a kind of a cupboard where you have natural ingredients and recipes that you can, and all these things are something that you can either just kind of pick from the nature, grow yourself, or otherwise some naturally produce. And then there are recipes that what can you make out of these ingredients, and they are not all like food, so not just stuff to be eaten, but also stuff that you can, for example, design little jewelry out of, or use as leather or something like that. So and the cupboard is free to explore, so that's why it's in the lobby of the library, that we are opening it up for the normal people of E, for the people living here, and they can explore the cupboard and maybe even take something from there, and also maybe swatch something, so that they will bring something that they use and then take something that they want to use. So also it is kind of tapping into the local knowledge of natural recipes. And here we had a workshop attached to this artwork, and I can maybe tell a little bit about it later, but let's first discuss, so why did you pick this work, and what do you, how do you found it? Well, yes, why? What is interesting about it? How does it reflect our theme?
Well, I found this, yeah, I can start maybe. I found this work interesting for its, for the way how the artist propose an interactive, like co-living with the nature, and how they describe that you have things just out at the back of your garden. And I really like this kind of a pedagogical approach that the artists have, that they share something, what they have found. And also this, I think that contemporary artists have really important tasks in contemporary society to show a way to be more humble. And this I found to be a strength of the proposal.
Yeah, I thought that this project is very interesting in terms of knowledge, because here we have a kind of archive of the knowledge which can disappear if you don't really take care of it. And coming from a different context, because I've been living in Russia for a long time, and especially in the post-Soviet context, you can see how the new economy can influence the context and the way young people can make decisions as consumers, or how large corporations come with a certain story or certain agenda, like in Arkhangelsk, where we have been working, large transnational corporations came to the market just for some years ago, and they use this kind of a message, like McDonald's, they use the message, we're using only local potatoes, we are using the local, it's like one who have been traveling or who have been seeing other contexts can read the like the tools or the like the texts which is in this advertising, but many young people, they don't have this ability to deconstruct it. So I think that this project have been very interesting in terms of taking the attention of the visitors to the local values, that the local knowledge has a value which can be which visitors can play with, they can touch it. And I think that this very project is a kind of I find it interesting. This is also a kind of a mixture between science and arts, and you can use it. You can use it in school. You can use it in the kindergarten, or you can use it at the university, because it's like I find it really interesting in this interdisciplinarity that you can, that's something that you find in certain Nordic projects. You don't really find it many other places, and you can learn biology through art. You can learn learn economy. You can learn about local economy. What is value? I think it's really something that I found exciting. And artists sent me many pictures, and I think that this was a very nice example of lifting up the local knowledge to the way that can empower the community.
Yes, exactly. And this participatory workshop that was included here was kind of the place where the knowledge was shared, and it was a really great event because, first of all, we had a lot of participants, so a lot of people attended, and Alan and P really made this workshop really wonderful. So everybody, for example, was given an own scoby mushroom. So because they are growing scoby, which is volgansieni in Finnish, which is the ingredient that you made kombucha out of. And we were served kombucha when we opened the piece. And then in the workshop, Alan and P they gave everybody who attended this little glass jar with a little scoby in it. And our Inka has one at her home also. I'm wishing to have the baby of that scoby to come and live here in Kulttuurikauppila. I was sure I would get one because they had loads of them, but there were so many participants that they just went all. But the workshop was really wonderful, and we worked with and the thing that I wanted to say about this piece was that this is the most bio art piece of our compilation. So it's the one that is nearest to bio art, and it is really bio art because it's full of biological products and living bacterial things in the cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move forward. Then we have Pia Hentunen, who made a work called Invisible Insects. And here we also have a very local point of view. So she selected insects from the fauna of northern Ostrobothnia that are either is distinct or very near to distinction, so the endangered species of insects. And she made them into these little sculptures, and they are now on tree trunks around the Lähde Park and here beside Kulttuurikauppila. And they are really hidden, so you really have to look to find them, although they are like this big, so they are not natural size. Natural would be like microscopic little, but they can, and you can really, it's a kind of a game that you can play, for example, at Lähdepuisto, because there is a note that says that there is 7 in these trees. Can you find them all? And Pia is a local artist. She's from Tyrnävä, and she came to Ii on Wednesday, was it? Only on Wednesday, yes, because she had made the insects at home, and now she came to only mount them in Ii. But what do you think about this work, and how did you choose it? What's the strength of it?
maybe I can again start, and the next one I will let Ekaterina to start. I'm just so eager to talk.
Yeah, I think I think this work was your particular
favorite.
So you
Yes,
Okay.
this was something that I was very fond of course, because I'm very interested of this art that is in between art and science, and this topic of the looking at the insects even with the knowledge of the science, with the knowledge that how rare they are and how this loss of biodiversity is going on. So that I found this topic very interesting and important, and something that I think that it's important that contemporary artists are involved, and the artist having also a background in the biology. And also the material that she used for the sculptures was something that we were fascinated, that it was this ecological version of chips sculpting.
Yes.
And that we thought that it really was in line with what we wanted to do in the Art Ii Biennial, that also look for ecological ways of making and presenting art. And the only reason that we were wondering that if this work will come into the Biennial was that there wasn't much visual presentation, that we didn't know that what the scale would be or how this would actually look like. And I have been really happy when I have seen the photos, that they really pleased us.
Yes. They are really nice, and they are particular favorites of the children here.
I found very interesting the idea of crafting something, and because in my work I've been focusing on crafts, and this was something very different because the material has been different, although there was also you have a sketch and then you work with this very insect, but this was something very different and innovative, and I think that this surprise moment that the works are hidden and the trees are also is also exciting, and at the same time the work brings attention to the place. It's very local, and at the same time it brings our focus on the processes which are happening with the earth and with the nature on the earth. I think it's interesting, and this another layer of visibility, invisibility, I think is also very interesting, because it brings the question of power. You can read it in many different layers, because of course visibility or non-visibility is connected with power and geographical placement, and I became very aware about that, having worked for some time in peripheries. So I think this is an interesting layer here as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we are very interested to see how they survive. So this is one of the issues of all these artworks that are now outside, that what is the life cycle of them? Can they survive more than one summer? And also this work is, how does the winter affect it? But this is what we were discussing at our guided tour today with our audience, that with environmental art, you never know. You just have to take something into consideration and then hope that and then someday they might be really long living and surprisingly long living, and then sometimes they might their life ends sooner than later. But this is something that we just have to, and this is concerns all of the artworks, but we of course are looking into the situation every month, and then after the winter we will be looking at the spring and looking at which ones survived the winter and can be presented even next summer. Yeah. Okay, so the second or the third one that we're going to discuss is Tiina Vehkaperä's mass storage. And it is now located in the Environmental Art Park. So it's the first new piece in the park for 4 years. So 2016 is the last time that we have had some new things in the Environmental Art Park. And Tiina Vehkaperä's, she came on Monday to work on it, and it is a hole on the ground, and she has shoveled it with her bare hands. She has done it all, no machinery, nothing, just her and her hands and an axe, and of course the shovels. And it is it's a hole on the ground which fits a human, and it's covered in the bottom of it there are stones, so it's very beautiful, and it has kind of a reunus, a kind of a there is this kind of sand wall on the other side of it, and there's a little step, so you can step in there. And when we opened the piece, Tiina said that the thing is to go in and lie there, and that's what a lot of our audiences did, and I did it myself as well. So tell me about this work. How did you choose it, and what do you think what's its strength / message?
I can say something.
Yes, yeah. You go ahead, Ekaterina.
Yeah, I think what fascinated me in this work, I find it very strong in terms of the expression, because the artists have chosen to be very minimalist in her expression, and at the same time it's very strong. There are some other artists who have been choosing some small object, or something like Art Ii, for instance, or in Russia we had this artist Piotr Pawlensky, when he just takes one small object and he creates a story out of it. And here it's a very it's very symbolic.
Yes.
Very has many different layers in various cultures, and at the same time it's connected with the topic of the earth. And I found it interesting in terms of this interdisciplinary nature. It has both the sculptural aspect and also performative aspect, and at the same time it's an interactive work. But it's not this kind of work which is very pleasant. It can be scary. It can be. It can provoke completely different feelings from the audience, and I think that it's interesting. I think art is not necessarily about trust in the. It's not only about well-being, but it's also about asking some deep questions. This was very deep work, I think. Very simple in terms of the sign, but multi-layered in terms of meanings. And I think it's exciting. We have been talking about placing or possibility of placing this work in the churchyard, and I think this could be something very challenging, but in the very end I think we didn't go that way.
No,
but I saw
we didn't. In fact, we had a discussion with the artists, so the process went so that we suggested the church park, which is by the main church in E. So there's a little park which is beside the church, And we had suggested this place for Tiina. This is partly because I didn't really somehow fathom how strong the piece is going to be. And then Tiina said to us that she's not sure if she wants it by the church, because it's already quite provoking. And if it's by the church, it's just going to be so provoking. And now that it's in the environmental art park, it's exactly the thing that we did, that we put it where other art is, so that it is a piece of art, though it looks like a grave, to be precise. But in the environmental art park, it fits. But this is true. It's very, very provoking, and it brings different thoughts from the audience. So some have been a little bit like, well, you just start thinking about death.
What kind of? It's very interesting to hear the reaction of the audience, because I think if it would be in a Russian context, I think the reaction of the church would be completely different. Well, I don't think it would even work. But it's not very. We haven't tried, but I think.
But you go. Did you have something to add, Maria?
Yes, I could add here that we were fascinated by the idea that this would have been beside the church, that the site itself would have added one layer into the work. But I understand the artist's point of view here, that it doesn't make any sense to provoke so much that the people will push the idea away and be disturbed, because that, of course, is not the aim of the Art Ii Biennial. And in addition, this work is relevant if you are religious, or if you are not religious, or if you belong to totally another religion, so that the topic of the work is not associated with religious.
Yes.
So in a way, both of the places have would work well, and probably the artist did here a good decision.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, maybe I can still add that obviously this coronavirus made this work very topical, because many of us been afraid of our near ones, and many of us know people who died this spring, or globally how many people died. So this work came very topical with the coronavirus, and of course on the other hand, the way that how this is interactive doesn't demand any social interaction. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, as I said, I went and lied there, and the thing is that maan syli on kylmä syli, so the bosom of the earth is a cold bosom. And then of course you start also thinking the phrase maasta sinä olet tullut, maaksi sinä olet jälleen tulemaan, which is one dimension of earth, that it is part of our religion. It is part of the fact that we are buried in earth. It is it's a very, very strong thing. It's a strong aspect of earth. We are buried in it. And this piece takes this dimension and treats it.
Yeah, and I think we also, like we wrote in the text, in the curatorial text, that we come from the earth and we are going to end up in the earth, because if we remember the world's mythologies, most of them, they're connected with the earth.
Exactly.
And so you have many different layers here, which are both connected with various religions, but also with their pre-Christian mythologies, and I think personally for me, it's really exciting work. I was voting for it from the very beginning. I think it's very strong, and I wrote it to the artist. I find it's really strong.
Yeah. Yes, great. Okay, so the next piece is Land Shapes. So that's by artist Maria Huttunen from Rovaniemi. And the special thing about this artwork is that it is one of the only ones that there are two communal works, and this is the other one. And this has been, so Mia has been working as a residency artist in Kulttuurikauppila from the beginning of May, and he has been working this with the students of Valtarin koulu, so the Valtari school, and the 8th graders who have a voluntary visual arts, and these people have been attending these pupils have been attending the process. But this is also something that the coronavirus kind of took away the possibility of physical contact with the pupils, but they have been, Mia has been working with the teacher and the pupils in May, and they have contributed to the designing of the artwork. And the artwork as itself is a land art piece, which is in this kind of parky area. So it's a kind of a park or a siirtolapuutarha, kind of this communal garden in the center of Iin Hamina, which is this kind of cultural tradition, cultural heritage site in Ii, with these old ancient buildings and a very atmospheric area. And there you have this park slash garden, and then there is a piece of land that Mia has been carving a design, and this design is partly made out of the heads of the, so it has been, the ideas are from the pupils in the Valtari school. And it looks, it's meant to be looked from above, which of course doesn't mean when you just normally walk by it, but we are going to have a video production that will show it from a drone flying over it, so you can see that there are these shapes that have been made into the area. Tell me about this work.
Yes, so when we went through the application, there were some artists whose central skill was presented as a community work, like working with people, working with groups of people. And Mia was one of them, but there was not many. It seemed so that more of the artists have their skills, and then they would develop the way of working or interacting with people. But here the working with people was at the core. And at the same time, this land art approach is of course at the core of our theme, the earth, and also the gardening. So really many central aspects came together in this work.
Yes, thank you, Maria.
Well, I think that this work was selected, but I think that it's very interesting in terms of how you can apply this method in various contexts, because here you work with the earth, but at the same time you can work with various schools, and I found this method is very interesting. I think I would really have loved to repeat it somewhere else, because I just found that it's very pedagogical, and I would have loved to hear what kind of conversations were taking place, because in this kind of projects, the conversations between the artists and the participants are core, I believe, and this is kind of this invisible thread which is being created, which is actually key. So I really hope that the artist had a possibility of discussing and talking why she's doing this and what for. But I think it's very exciting to look at the sketch and then to see at this like graphic, which becomes a graphic on the earth, or this horizontal work where you use some other materials than just paper and a pencil. You just use the earth.
Yes.
And I think that it's also exciting that it's made by a woman.
Yes, and she also shoveled it all by herself. So the thing is with these pieces that all that had something to that you had to work with the land. We had ordered in advance machines to help them shovel and so to go to the ground, and both of these ladies said that no, I'm just gonna do it with my bare hands. I think it was so funny. Cool. Yeah, and then and Mia's work is also, she had a lot of conversations with the people living in Hamina, so because it's in a very central place in this village, so there was a lot of locals who came there and chatted with Mia, and I was saying to Mia that this was the best PR project for the biennial in years, because she was there kind of päivystämässä. She was there, residing there in Hamina, and just telling everybody about art, the Art Ii Biennial.
Yeah. Artist is present.
Yes, artist is present. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anything else on this work? Shall we continue?
Can fill out that also with this one, I have been really happy to see the results. That it really looks beautiful, and looking forward to see it when it's blossoming.
Yes. The thing is that for the attendees information that this is really in process, this artwork still, and there are seeds in it, and it should there should be more flowers and colors there. So it's kind of an ongoing process during this summer. Okay, so the next one is a video installation by Maria Haapakangas and Maria Laitila. The piece is called Seusuo, and it is now in Villa Kauppila. So that's the kind of a bed and breakfast place that we have just beside Kauppila, and they have these old Aitta buildings in their yard, and we managed to rent one of the Aitta buildings for this installation, which means that we have a video installation where you go into this dark room, which is this Aitta, and then they have constructed, of course, the projection there, but they have also covered the whole Aitta floor with peat, and they made a deal with Vapo, that Vapo gave them the material for the piece, and we have a lot of peat now here in E, and it's a immersive experience, so you can go into the Aitta with bare feet and step on the peat, and then you look at the video, and the video is a dance video of a midnight sun-lit dance on a peat marsh, and it's beautiful. So how did you how did you choose this work?
I can maybe say a couple of words here. We had various applications connected with the theme of the earth, and many of them were very material and like labor intense in a way. And this was a video work which is connected to the area, and it was very interesting to bring this kind of perspective, that you have this the media perspective as well. And I was really excited to see that it also became an installation that you can experience, you can touch it, you can come with your bare feet and just walk at the pit. And I found it really I found it very beautiful, and I really love the placement, because I don't think it would it would be the same experience if the work was shown in the white cube.
Yes, no, it's just perfect there. And you know, when you see the video, the video is so kind of physical and sensual. You can see the mosquitoes, you can see the sweat, the turf, the peat on Maria. So for the information of the audience, the Maria Laitilan Maria Haapakangas artist pair working so that Maria is a dancer and Maria Haapakangas is the video producer. And Maria is dancing, and it's shot really beautifully. And I was telling these ladies that this is the most sensual piece in our compilation. It's like where you really can feel the physicality, and it's lovely.
Yes, so I'm also totally in love with this work, and earlier today I was thinking that I actually remember that I wanted to make something similar myself, but my skills have not been at all, like not even tiny bit into this direction, so I soon found that this is not my direction. So it's been really pleasant to see this work. And what I find fascinating is this how the video work can, as you Jetta said, pass the experience of the sensual experience, but at the same time the work is very political. The peak is one of the most political discussions at the moment, that how come we are having so much peak out of the nature while we know the climate impact of it. So that adds the political level to the installation. And I can also say that I know both of the artists, but I haven't met them for maybe over 10 years. And I have not seen their art for 10 years. So when I have met them last time, they have been very young artists, and I already knew that they are talented, and I hope that I would see later that what they will do later. So for me, seeing their application was something that made me really happy to see that these talented young artists came to make so strong pieces.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, and we were discussing the political dimension when we had the opening of this piece, and discussing this with our audience, that this is so that peat is a controversial subject, and it is a very topical subject, and And I don't mean that the artwork should state anything. I think that the artwork has the strongest approach when it engages the audience to think about it. Yeah.
Think what the peak is, and so on.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Then we have Karoliina Niemelä's and Pirjo Lempeä's The Beginning, alku in Finnish. And this is a clay egg in Kuivaniemi, Finland, northern, so this 40 kilometers out of it towards the north. By the seashore, there is this area which is a popular swimming place for the locals called Pankinnokka. And there is these dynejä, how do you pronounce it? Well, anyway, so there's sand and there is the sea and then there is the egg. And the ladies have been doing this egg from Monday. So they came there with the clay, they started working and they, one by one, they put the egg was constructed. And then in the end, meaning Friday, they put fire into the egg and they burnt it hard. So it was burnt, it is its own oven. So this is a technique called, I can't remember, what was the technique? It was, sorry, I can't remember, but it is an ancient technique of burning clay, where you don't have a specific oven, but monumental ceramics, that's right. Monumental ceramics is the term. So you kind of burn the thing itself is the oven. And then the unveiling of the piece was that they had because when they burn it, they cover it with this kind of, well, blanket or whatever you call it, but this kind of more fireproof material. And then the unveiling was that the artists gathered away the material and it was relieved, so unveiled and revealed. And the thing is that it was broken a little bit. So it had a hole in the side of the egg, and also it was a little bit halkeilut. So it was a little, and then Pirjo and Carolina said that they knew that it was broken a bit because they had heard it, they had heard this jymäys, pamaus during the burning process, and their diagnostics was that there was too much wind. So the kind of the fire got too strong at points, and because it was a very windy day, and they did the fire. The fire was up whole day, so from the morning to the evening. So anyway, so it was a very dramatic process of unveiling the piece because it was broken, and then in the end they decided they repaired it with the clay that they had this material which is kind of clay, or it is clay, and they repaired it with that, and now it's whole egg in Kuivaniemi. So tell us about this work. Tell us about the kind of idea behind it, and how did you find it?
So when we went through the applications, there were few proposals with the clay, and I had not thought myself that we would be working, or there would be artists working with the clay in this biennale. But obviously, when the artist proposed it, I realized that well, of course, the clay is a central part of the theme Earth and very natural material for an artwork. And I think that this seesaw is really a good choice as a place that in there the story behind the work is somehow underlined. And this goes on also to other artworks, but it was interesting to see how strong proposals there are from artists who work together, like artist teams or artist pairs. And this is one of them that artists have various skills, and I'm really happy to see artists collaborating and working together.
Yes, yes, and we were calling them voimanaisia, because they were really working hard, because they had to do long days with the. And I'll just refer quickly to the story behind the egg. So the story is that it is the mythological first egg that the world became into being, according to the Kalevala mythology. Ekaterina.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say, because I see there are two interesting points. The first one is connected to the content, because in the selection of the works, we have Tina with her grave, fantastic, challenging work, which is about like the end. And here we have this another work which is about the beginning, and I really like this references to the national epic. We discovered it just recently that Kalevala was collected in the 19th century in the Arkhangelsk region, which is my home region, and it was very, very big news, because of course we didn't learn it in school. By the way, when we're talking about knowledge, like what you learn in school, you learn this history from the capitals, but you don't really know your own history. So I think that for me, working with this project has been also about learning history, and I think I like this variety. It's also labor intense, like Tina's work, but it's about another side. It's about the start. You also use the material, you also work with the earth, but you're talking about the beginning when she's talking about the end. And is there any beginning or an end? Because one is like you know, it's also another question to be discussed. But I think it's really very interesting if you see it as a part of the whole, like how the works are together. Yeah, I hope to see it very soon myself.
Yes, yeah. And this is also a big mystery. How will the weathers and the seasons treat the egg?
Yeah,
it has been now repaired, and it's very solidly on its place. So, and we were discussing with the locals when we had the opening that will, for example, the ice in the spring threat its place, but it was disputable. Some thought that every 10 years there is this ice situation that goes all over the peak, so then it will just go. But then on the other hand, there might be good springs that the ice doesn't come that way, and it stays in the further in the seaside. So, but this is, as I stated earlier, this is something that we will see with all of the artworks. Okay, then we have Anne Joncha's and work groups Repeat 3, and this is the one which is here in Kulttuurikauppila, and it's a series of works resulting from an art science collaboration between visual artist Anne Joncha and researchers Olli Tarvainen, Anne Tolvanen, and Anna-Liisa Välimaa from the Natural Resources Institute in Finland. And these are, they reflect observations of the artists from this long-term collaboration with the group, and they highlight the layered and complex structure of peatland mat and the relationships between the present moss structures and grass species. So how did you find this work from all the applications, and how did you come up choosing it?
Yeah, I can say a couple of works. I found it very interesting when I learned that she's a researcher. It's like the artist is both working as a researcher, but at the same time she uses art as her way of expressing the results of the research, and this has been a very different but really interesting contribution to the overall selection, because it has been so different from anything else on the one hand, and on the other hand you see that there was also a composer involved. And there are some other artists working with the theme of the peat, and we have been discussing that it's a very politically charged topic and the material. And I think that this work shows the theme from a completely different viewpoint, and I think it's very interesting. And yes, and you have your work. You have the work of Anne Jonka just back.
Yeah, just behind me. Yes,
just behind you.
Yeah. So we have the works here at the gallery in Kulttuurikauppila. Yeah, and we had the joy of having the scientists in the opening. So they came from Oulu and told us interesting things about this cooperation that they have had with Anne. And Anne is now in the States, so that's why she couldn't attend. She has been in Oulu, and that's why her works are also here. She didn't send them from the States, but they were in Oulu, and we got them from the Luke people.
I think that Anne Jonka is online, so if
I think she is.
Us,
yes,
we should say hi.
Yeah, hi Anne. I'm happy to have you present like this. Very nice, and we are really enjoying your works here, and had a great opening. Very nice.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I can add here that from the very beginning we thought that this is a really strong team with so many people involved and very ambitious plans for the collaboration of artists and researchers. And here the coronavirus did affect on what could be done and what could be shown. But as I see there, and when I hear that the researchers were also present in the openings, I'm really happy with this.
Yeah. Yes. Very, and we have a strong science art collaboration here, which is kind of the trend of the future, especially, I think. Okay, shall we continue? The second piece is Johanna Ruotsalainen and Simi Susanna Ruotsalainen working together on a video installation called I Am a Living Being. And this is also presented here in Kulttuurikauppila Gallery. And it's a video installation with a kind of a face on an earthy material. So really it's a box full of earth and sand, and then a face appears from this land piece and starts talking. And then it talks about the rights of the land as a living being, and it's very strong. And we were discussing here with the artists earlier that this is kind of the piece that you should start looking at the whole compilation, because it sets the tone of the land opening its mouth. So please tell me, what did you think when you read about it, and how did you choose it?
Yeah. In the application, we could saw the content. We could see what the video work would say, and immediately I knew that okay, this is very relevant. That the artists are really underlying what we have wanted to say with our topic. But the result of this work, I think, is much more than what I thought in the beginning, because I thought that okay, this is very topical. It's underlying this kind of post-humanistic paradigm that is that has grown a lot in the contemporary art and in contemporary research. But at the same time, the video connects with the Mother Earth thinking to the 60s and 70s, and then further and further in the history to all kinds of relations that have been seen there between the earth and the woman. And I think that it is really brilliant that this Mother Earth is looking so young and so beautiful. So there is a really nice twist in this work.
Yeah. But the artists also said that they were trying to make the face as a person who doesn't have a sex and who doesn't present any race, and they are in some way they are succeeding in it, but the kind of the line of thinking is that it is a female, so we're going to start seeing a female face there.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I didn't think that they would. I didn't hear, or if I read it, I have forgotten that.
Yeah.
That this would not be. That
yes.
This would not be the Mother. But I mean, it's probably the association that when it's a human being that you think that it's a female, but in a way, of course, the gender here doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant in the way that it's what it speaks is the relevant thing. So it is saying that don't hurt me, don't do things that exploit me and hurt me, and this is the right I have. And it's just so the message is very powerful.
Yeah, I also find interesting that, well, if we're talking about the Mother Earth, mother is actually a female, and it's also about this mythological layer which exists in many cultures, and both in Latin American culture you have this like image of Pachamama, or in Northern Russian culture, if you look at the embroidery in the northern Russia, you see this women or like female imagery where women hold seeds or birds. So it reminds many different signs in various cultures which refer to the very same image. So you have both this material aspect when the earth becomes a living and speaking and active being, but at the same time you can also refer to this like cultural to all these cultural layers in history. And the deeper you go, the more you realize that actually many cultures around the world, they are very similar. It's like when you open an art history book, and in the very beginning you find the imagery from the petroglyphs, like these simple images which can be similar around the world. So I think here we also have this very strong cultural reference to many different cultures around the globe. So I found this very interesting as well. Oh, you're I don't hear you.
Sorry, it's just better to keep it on all the time because I always forget it. If I put it on, then immediately forget it, and then I start speaking and nobody hears what I'm saying. Yeah, but it's a really great piece, and we really love to have it here in Kulttuurikauppila Gallery. Then last but not least, we have the two works that are kind of out of the curatorial scope of you. So you have not chosen these because these were commissioned earlier or through another channel. But we're going to discuss these pieces also. So we have Paula Suominen's Peculiar Flowers, which is a ceramic sculpture in Lähde Park, so the new wellness, well-being park in E. Peculiar Flowers is a public artwork commissioned by the municipality of E, and it's a 3-piece mosaic sculpture which expresses the vitality of plants, their survival and adaptation. You have seen pictures of this piece. I don't know if you know Paula. Have you met her? Do you know her? But you can also here ask questions from me about this artwork, and I want to maybe hear your opinions on what do you think that this is the latest purchase of the municipality of E for our public art compilation.
Yeah, I have seen the pictures of the artwork today, and I was really impressed when I saw it. I mean, it looks like really wonderful work. And in many other countries, like for example in England, some parts in States, the mosaics are used a lot for public art.
Yes.
But in Finland, I haven't seen mosaics in public art.
Not so much.
Almost not at all. I think that Paula has a really good material and an ability to make really impressive works with that. And the many aspects of community art and environmental art come together in this park now in a way that it is located next to the people who have limited access to nature and limited access outdoors. That how can public art bring joy into the environment, and it is colorful, it is beautiful, it still tells about the nature. So when I saw the pictures, I really thought that, wow, this is a nice piece.
Yeah, and I can tell you that it has been immediately very popular. The park has had a lot of visitors from the organizations that are there, so the facilities that are there, the old people's home, the työhönvalmennuskeskus, so the workshop for the disabled or otherwise limited access people, and so on. So every time we go to the park, there is a crowd there, and we can see. And also when I was making the opening speech for the opening of the park, I told that there is a kind of, you can get a double dose of well-being in the park, because there's the nature and there's the art, and you can enjoy them both.
I can say that I think that it was really exciting to look at that, because if we're talking about Russian context, in USSR, this has been a rather popular practice to work with mosaics, but not now. I don't think it would be possible even to imagine that for the last 30 years something made of mosaics could be produced in public space. I don't know why, but it's just not
weird.
And in Norway, I didn't really see that much either. So it was a very interesting way to take some something vulnerable, like the flower is, and produce it in a form which makes it strong, and I think there is this strength in that which looks interesting for me. And I think that if we're talking about sustainability, I found it exciting that this work is created for the well-being, and here we have this idea of social sustainability that we have been discussing from the very beginning, and
exactly
that what I find interesting, because this is not something you see in other biennales. At least I haven't seen it at other biennales around the world, that you have some works which are aimed to the particular groups in society. I think it's a very interesting approach.
Yes, and the fact that they are so massive, it's very important that they are big,
strong.
They are strong. Yes, that's true. They are strong, and they are named after some kind of plants or flowers in Finland. So they are called kuukunen, kultatyräkki, and kaihonkukka. And these are all some kind. One is kind of a mushroom, one is kind of a flower, and the other is also one kind of a flower. So yeah, they grow from the ground, and they are strong, and they reflect growth and light and energy in the nature. Yes, super. Okay, so and now we have the final piece, and it is by the art school in E. So this is the teachers Henna-Riikka Lohi and Marianne Lukkarila worked with their pupils, so the people who are in the community art school. And this passing spring, they have been collaborating on this project, and it's a multi-layered project, so that they have a video work that is available online, and then there is this kota, which I don't know if English word for, but the kind of construction where which is used by the Sami people and the Indians in North America. Kota, where you can go in and you have a little fire and you can sit on the rugs or skins or whatever you have there on the floor, and then you gather around and you tell stories. And the workshops, the Earth Stories workshops are run by Marianne Lukkarila, who is Marianne Lukkarinen, who is kind of, she's into these community processes, and she's developed this way of telling stories about the earth. And we have had several workshops now with this concept, and people have been coming to the workshops and shared their stories and had very strong experiences. It's a very meditative space. And for example, I went there on Wednesday, which was the first day of the biennial, and I went there just to kind of lie on my back for half an hour, and I was totally invigorated by it. And at the same time, Marianne was writing me this poem, which she then later recited to me, and it was like this. It was like a gift, and I have it on my wall, and I was thinking I can go through this biennial any minute with this kind of this wonderful message that I got somehow from myself, but also from this atmospheric meditation moment that I was experiencing there. So and you have seen the plans that we were discussing with you, even though you didn't specifically choose this, but you were there, we involved you in the process, telling that this is something that we're going to have. So what do you think? How does it fit? What new does it bring? So on.
Yeah, when I read of the community art theories and research on community art, it is even quite often stated that the strongest community art is made by artists who are really local, who live with the community and who know the people. And I believe it's really true. And I think that you are really lucky, Teini, that at art school you have artist teachers who have the abilities and will to contribute into the biennale. And I would like see this to happen again, because the art teachers are really the gatekeepers into the community. They know lots of people, they meet people, and they are important figures in the community. And when we talked of it, and when you told that you are thinking of commissioning this work, I immediately said that I want to see it as one of the art projects.
Yes.
That it's in the same line with the curated artists.
Yes, yeah, and it's really good, and I think it has been also a very empowering process for the teachers, because they don't consider them artists from day to another, and now they have made a really strong creative and artistic process, and that they have been able to be part of the biennial artist team as one of the artworks. It has been a very empowering process for them.
I would really love to see the work, because it has been, I think it was starting when we were there, as far as I remember, but it's like, I think it would be really exciting to hear these stories and maybe to have them translated into English, because
yes, yeah,
I believe that the place has many stories to be shared.
Yeah, it does, but we're going to have a kind of a wrap up with Marianne and Henna-Riikka later, because they are now gathering stuff with these workshops as well. So it is kind of, and they think it's a continuing process, that they are very enthusiastic about this concept, and they want to continue it even in the autumn or late summer, and of course years to come. So they have the kota is a permanent structure that they will be using with the art school. So the Earth Stories concept is now being developed further, and the stories are gathering.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's very nice. Okay. It is 18:48, so we have been here 1 hour and 40 minutes. How do we want to sum up? I have already told you that we had a amazing week here, and this is not only my feeling. We had the closing dinner yesterday evening, and all our artists agreed that this has been a really wonderful week, and also because of many people being forced to have this social distancing for months, and then having this place where you can meet colleagues and people who are fellow artists, and you can chat with them, you can share ideas with them, you can find new connections with them. That has been something that makes me really emotional, that we have been able to give these artists this experience. I'm very, very grateful for that.
I have been recently making research on art symposiums and also considering that what does it mean to artists to be invited into an art symposium, especially to socially engaged symposium and especially to international event. And what you said there, it probably is sure that it probably is true that the fact that the symposium happened just after the burst in the coronavirus in Finland also impacted it, but also otherwise I think that these art symposiums are important for artists' career and important for artists' social networking and learning and sharing. And I'm happy to hear that it was like that in E as well, because of course normally the curators would have a role there in enhancing the dialogue and supporting artists, and if there would be challenges to help out with it. But of course, now when Jetta was there and Inka and other people who could help the artists, so then I had the full trust on that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I just would like to thank again for this exciting collaboration, because the theme and the way the works are produced, I found it very inspiring. And for the first time, I think I heard about E last year, and I was watching this video about the first zero waste community in the world, and it was so relevant. I could never imagine that I would ever be working with a project
involved,
there.
Yes.
Yeah, and suddenly I was. So it was really great. Personally, I would have loved to be there, like live, because I think that no Zooms will be able to change live meetings, and I think that the most important processes are happening when you are talking live.
Yeah.
But I really hope that I will make to Finland this summer, and and I would like to thank Maria for collaboration, and we will see what happens, because we have some more work to do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Same
you.
with me. I want to finish by saying thank you Jetta, and thank you Ekaterina, Inka, and rest of the production team, and of course thank you for the artists. They are the ones who actually made the work.
Yes, yes, exactly. Okay, thank you for the conversation, and thank you people who attended. Do we have any questions? Anywhere? I'm looking at there is a Q&A. Oh yes, there is from Paavo is saying at the and thanks for the afternoon. Yeah, okay. Well, I hope that's later. Yeah. And Anne has really greeted us on the chat. So thanks for everybody for listening. We have a recording of this, which we are later going to distribute or publish, so we can get to the subject anytime we want to. So thanks everybody, and have a great evening and the rest of June.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for
Bye
now.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.